How We Began by L.M. Juniper. Narrated by Frankie Porter. 1. Strangers. I'm a prisoner, locked inside these impenetrable walls, guarded by armed soldiers. They tell me it's for my own safety, but that's a lie. Just like they lie about the cure. They do not want a cure. They want a weapon. Marianne had always hated getting sick. She would avoid it at all costs, and most of her life she'd been successful. Until the day she got bit. She observed the scar at her collarbone. Perfectly mouth-shaped, and if she looked carefully, she could count the number of teeth. Prodding it lightly with her finger, she winced. The scar was still red and bubbly, the skin around it too soft and delicate to withstand much pressure. She released the neck of her sweater and lifted her eyes to look back at a stranger's face. Short blonde hair and wrinkles that lined her forehead and cheeks. She moved her head back and forth, the stranger doing the same. A click from a door opening sounded behind her. The general was back. To ask his questions, no doubt. Questions she had no answers to, no matter how much he prodded. That was the luxury of surviving a bite, it seemed. Her memories had all but vanished, and though the general asked her questions, it seemed he knew more about her than she did. They would come back, he'd said, before adding, hopefully. Some had indeed come back. Like the fact that she didn't like being sick, or that her blonde hair had been bleached to hide all the greys sneaking into it. She also remembered the bastard who bit her as she'd been running towards the entrance of a military building. After that, most of her life was a blur. "How are we feeling today, Marianne?" General Hyun Tae-jong, a middle-aged Asian man, asked. He was handsome, with short salt-and-pepper hair and a square jaw softened by rounded cheekbones and warm brown eyes. "I am still alive." She held her hands out to the sides as he settled into a chair on the other side of the glass wall separating them. He didn't smile, but he didn't seem annoyed either. Pity. He merely observed her quietly, with one leg resting across the other. His pristine navy blue slacks were perfectly ironed, his entire appearance so proper and impeccable that Marianne had yet to spot even a crease on his white buttoned-up shirt. "You seem in a good mood. No headache today?" She disliked his attempts at friendliness. They were stilted and didn't suit him. He was her captor, the one holding her prisoner, and yet he offered her pleasantries as though they were friends. She crossed her arms. "And by good mood, you mean I'm not trying to punch you through the glass," she said dryly. This drew a smile from the general's lips. If, in fact, he was a general. "Your readings." He pointed at the monitor next to him, where blue and red lines rose and dipped along a graph. "Yes, well, someone is forcing me to wear this." She smirked and held up her arm. "Accessory." "Would you rather lie hooked up to a machine?" She would not. But she wouldn't give the general the satisfaction of knowing he was right. "You feel no different after yesterday's serum." Serum number 222, a thick, see-through sludge like syrup. "I feel like all the other days." "And how is that?" "That I would like some answers." The general set his foot down on the floor and leveled her with a steady gaze. "You know I'm not at liberty to give you any." "I know you keep telling me that. That is all I know." She'd been a prisoner in his strange lab for nearly 2 months, if not more. It was difficult to tell time. All she knew was that an infection had spread rapidly through the city. Everyone who came into contact with it was overcome by the infection. everyone but her. The general rose from his seat and walked towards the wall, the tablet held against his stomach. Usually he didn't get too close, staying by his chair unless he had to inspect her eyes or some other feature of her face that she couldn't pinpoint. He stopped a few inches away. "I wish I could tell you everything, but my employer gave me an assignment, and I gave my word. The same I'll give to you. If you help me, I will cure you." "What good is your word when I don't even know you?" A whisper of a laugh slipped across his lips, and he dropped his chin towards his chest. "It's funny. My wife said the same thing before we eloped." Eloped? Not only did the general not look like the type who'd elope, but why was he telling her this when he'd told her nothing of himself so far? She frowned, and he dropped his gaze towards the tablet in his hand, index finger tapping at the screen, then fixed her with an intense stare. "If you want answers, be patient and trust what I'm telling you." His finger rapped against the screen again. This time, she looked where he was pointing. A document was open, but only one word was written on the page. Escape. Escape and eloped. 2 words, similar meanings. Was he trying to tell her to escape? Or that they would escape together? "I don't understand. Will you tell me more?" "Not now, but when the time is right." "And when is that?" "I suppose only time will tell." He flicked the screen off and walked away from her. "Wait," she called after his retreating form. "At least tell me who your employer is." He turned and looked at her before exiting the room. "The Prime Minister."